So now we're going to remember the container is the one that formats the content. So we're going to go to create a container, then create a template that parses that container, then create a page that uses the template so that we can reuse this content. Okay, so let's go to containers, and it should look like this under site browser. Click containers. Should be looking at this. Let's add a new container. Now, all this is going to be hands-on for a while. Once you add new container, then I'm going to call this Dean G movie container. So if you could put your first name, last initial. And then very, 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 very important, otherwise your container won't work for this content type at all. You can't have your max number of contents allowable 0. You have to allow content, right? So let's just make up a number. Let's say the total number of movies you can statically place. Dynamically, we could pull whatever, but right now we're working on static, then we'll get to dynamic. We'll say 10 movies, no more than 10 statically placed movies at a time. And once you click here in the code field, then you'll see the rest of the fields change. So max contents must be set to something other than 0. Now, if you're going to leave the max content 0, that's usually for a header or a footer where you never want content contribution at all. So obviously you're not going to format anything, any content types. And now here it automatically chooses Adam C because he's the first content type in the list, and it's required that at least one's there. So just we're going to get rid of Adam C in just a second. Let's go ahead and type our own name. So I'm going to type in Dean. It automatically finds my container. So I just started typing DEA. I click on my movies. I add my content type. So you have to click the add a content type button. That adds me over here. And then I just click to remove Adam once I have my own added. Okay. Now we are going to allow 2 different content types to be contributed to this container. Not only the Dean G movies, but we're going to allow the generic content type. So what is it? Web page content. No, content. So just type in content, CON, and it will allow generic content. So we choose that. Then we must click the button to the right that says add content type. And now we've got Dean G movies and content generic. Okay. So here under content generic, I want you to click on add variable. And what it'll do is it'll automatically detect the main content type and all of the fields on that content type. So click on add variable, and then we're going to only expose for the generic content type the body field. So we can just click add, and it will add the velocity variable for that field so that it is exposed once it's, and that's it. We don't need to do anything else. We could do cool things and allow them to inline edit it and other stuff, but we're just going to keep it simple. And under Dean G movies, so now we've got that one done. We'll click on your movies, and let's say that whenever they statically contribute the content, we're only going to show like maybe the heading and the release date or something like that. And then we'll make it clickable that they click and then they go to a detail page. So let's go ahead and put an H2 here. It'll auto-complete for you. And then in the middle of that H2, reselect inside the middle there and then click add variable, and we want the title there. And make sure before you click like a backspace that you re-click into here, otherwise it'll backspace in the browser and you'll end up having to go back to your container. So make sure you refocus your mouse before you hit the backspace or delete. Okay. And then let's press enter and let's show the release date. So maybe we'll do EM for italics. Put a BR at the end of it. And inside of the italics there, we want the release date short string. Let's go ahead and get the released date. Okay. That'll help us with the formatting a little bit, at least it should. Click add. Oh, that doesn't help us with the formatting. Make sure you refocus before you hit the backspace, otherwise you'll get right out of your container. And we'll show it unformatted and then we'll fix it later. And let's go ahead and show the poster just for fun. So let's do this inside of a p tag. And inside of that p tag, add variable, and let's do poster.resized. And that at least does have the right code, but we do need to manipulate that a little bit. So we only want the width, and let's just make the width 200. So let's get out that extra height guy. We don't want any scrunching at all. 200. We can leave the in language ID, that's fine. Just in case we support multilingual content, then it'll automatically do the right thing. So all you need is width 200, and then you can leave the and language ID alone. Okay. Everybody good? Ready to save and publish? Okay. Save and publish. And now we have our movie container. All right. Now we need to create a template that uses the container, your movie container. All right. And let's go to templates. And now we're going to create a new template using the template designer. And we're going to use the template designer this time. So then first name, last initial, and movie container, template. Sorry, we already did the container. And then the theme that we want to use, we're going to click the little down arrow, click the plus sign, and choose the Quest theme. Okay, so name the template, choose the Quest theme for the template, and I'll show you how to make themes of your own using whatever framework you wish, even your own custom framework, and you can install themes if you wish, or you can just do advanced templates. And then we're going to add container, and we're going to add the movie container that we added earlier. So click add container, and then just type your own name, highlight Adam there, and just type your own name. It should auto-complete and find the container, no matter if you have one container, a million containers, all of that works fast. Like I said, we've got clients who are managing thousands of websites and, thousands of containers and thousands of templates, and that little search feature is much better than trying to click on a drop-down list. All right, so now that I've got my movie container on my template, that's all I have to do. And now I should be able to click on Save and Publish on this template. Okay, so if everybody's got their movie container on their own template, they've done the Quest theme, then Save and Publish, right? And now that movie template's ready to use. Okay, now all we have to do is create a new page that uses that template. So click on the browser, and I'm going to collapse all of this stuff and go to Dean G here, and let's create a new page. Right-click New Page, Page Asset, just the regular one. Just click Select. No need to make a choice there. Just New Page and click Select. And then here under Template, before we even do the title to our page, type your own name. And there I've got my movie template, which I'm going to use for this page. And I'm going to call it Dean's Movie Detail. And please put Show on Menu for now. Take out the cache. Please put 0 there. Make sure you don't put an O. Put 0 on the cache time to live. Make sure you got your movie template chosen. And click on Save and Publish. We did this movie detail page, and we did our own template. And it was just this little movie template using the template designer. And we're going to go in more in this in Web Developer, but at some times you will not want the column layouts here. What if you wanted 65, 35, or, you wanted, some different layout, 60/40 or something like that? What if you don't like what the template designer gives you? Now, you can make this template designer respect any framework or even your own custom framework, but what if you want other parameters here? Before you get into and before you ask the question, well, can't I just via a plugin add more layouts here? The answer to that question is effectively no. It's so much more difficult to do that rather than to just do this that it makes it not worth doing. So if we go to templates, and instead of using the template designer, we go to an advanced template, then we can just do whatever we want and do it via code. And we've got an example of an advanced template with this Bear Mountain one-pager here. So here's all the code, and inside of each of these templates, all we're doing is parsing containers, okay? And we do that manually. And we even have a little helper here that I'll show you during Web Developer, where we're going to take and we're going to rearrange some of this code, and we're going to make our own new template using a new theme and all that good stuff. Okay, so we do have both options here, and this gives you total code control. But before we get in and start messing around with code, then we'll leave that for the Web Developer course. Okay, but those are the two types of templates. You can manually parse containers, or you can go ahead and use the template designer and parse the containers just using the add a row, add a container methodology. Okay, one word before we kind of leave templates and containers. We created our own container yesterday. We know how to format them to content. The best recommendation that I have for you before you set up custom containers, most pages that you want are, here, I'll show you a little site I did for my wife. Whenever we moved to Costa Rica, it's illegal for my wife to work here until we finish our residency, which we're almost done with. But so I said to my wife, what do you want to do? And she said, well, I've always wanted to sell real estate. Let me do that. So I built her this little website, and don't criticize the design. I bought it for like $16 off of some, buy a bootstrap framework, type thing, and did it in a weekend. So we went ahead and built this site. And of course, whenever you build anything for your content contributors, you should want it to be absolutely dynamic, right? So I don't want, really my wife ever having to need me, right? So everything here pulls dynamically. She's never adding content to a page ever. The properties pull dynamically, the featured this month, the new properties, the property listings, the searches, everything's dynamic. So you don't really have to do a lot of custom container type stuff. Even the descriptions of the properties pull dynamically just based off of checkbox options there on the back end, and has very little that has to do with even much writing, right? And that's really the way you want your sites. You want everything dynamic. So since everything's dynamic, try not to think of containers as, oh, I've got to set up this custom container for this custom content type. The usual container is add container, default 5, and we'll say it can take up to 20 pieces of content just to be safe. We'll just add one content type, which is the generic content type, and then add that, take off Atom, and do body. This is how I make all of my containers at the beginning. They're just default. That means they can only accept one content type, which is a generic content type, and I only expose the WYSIWYG field. Now, that would be horrible if whenever I came to my templates, and I've stepped into websites where I actually, the webmaster had actually been fired, and left the entire site looking like this. New page asset, and test template page. I'll use Dean. Movie template, save and publish. And then what I'm going to do, and the nice thing is I realized that I hadn't put the container that I had created on a template yet, and I created a page using my template, but I can always edit the template from here. And I'll just add a row, and then I'm going to do that default 5, and save and publish. And now that template has now got 2 different containers whenever I look at it here. So I guess here I can go ahead and reuse content, search. I'll put Black Panther up on the top. And then here down below, if your content contributors to contribute content are having to come to pages and then go new content and see a big WYSIWYG blob all the time, that to me is in 90% of the cases horrible webmastering. I'm just going to say it that way. It should be the ideal way that content contribution should happen is that your users go to the content search tab. Maybe they don't see anything else except the content search tab, and they click new content. They add the type of content that they're experts on adding, and then they save and publish, and it just magically pulls itself dynamically on the site, and they don't have to worry about a thing. They want to change the content, they come back to the content search manager, they filter for the right one they're looking at, and they edit it. But my wife and her other agents that are working for her, they never go to a web page to change properties ever, and they love it that way. It's super easy, So, sometimes there's a happy medium, because if there's some content that's entirely unpredictable and can't pull itself dynamically, you have to do things like that. But don't, as a webmaster, worry yourself whenever you're using presentation layer for .cms on making your containers all complicated. Make them default containers, and by default kind of start laying out your design and your pages and what you're going to have where. And then whenever you need to pull something dynamically, just create a widget. Put your widget in a VTL file, parse the VTL file on a page, which is what we're going to do during Web Developer, and that can be done on any container. So you don't have to worry about formatting your containers to your content. I'm going to take that same page, test template, and I'll pull content dynamically down here instead of this generic content. I'm going to add content, add widget. What do I want to pull? News listing. I'll do the Dow Jones news feed. I just select it, and there I'm pulling Dow Jones news, right? That's the way you want your pages to look. All dynamic, all the time, and it's pulling. It doesn't look like the Dow Jones news is very new, but it should be, and that's the widget's fault. That's Jason Smith. Whenever he built it, he's pulling some, news in from somewhere, but it looks like it's got old dates on it. But the widget should just look and work perfect. You click on it, it goes to the detail page, done. And people just add content on the content search manager to change it, right?